Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from Central Europe. I hope everybody is having a lovely Thursday, staying strong, staying productive and healthy. Welcome Nijina, Maxime, Nawal. Nice to see many of you in the class. Hi Catherine, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. We are looking at the IELTS listening section in this lesson. Specifically, we're focusing on part 1 and part 2 mastery. So we will listen to part 1, listen to part 2, answer some questions, talk some strategy, and discuss what and how to do in order to get those high band scores. This lesson, these materials are presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Definitely check us out there and try our premium course for the general IELTS G IELTS help.com. On both of our websites we have practice exams, we have interactive courses, we have lesson videos, we have apps that connect to your websites and that you can also use the materials from. Academic IELTS Help app connects to ahelp.com. General IELTS Help app connects to gieltshelp.com. We're continuously developing, refining, improving our websites and our apps. We are aiming to be the best IELTS support system for candidates in the world today, and we're definitely getting there, so check us out. We help thousands of students every day now to be successful in their IELTS exams and on their plans for study and work and immigration. So the academic website looks like this. We'll use this today for the listening section. It's got the blue background. You can click that big red button to join us there. And this is the general one with the green background. Again, you can click that big red button to join us on that website. We're official British Council IELTS Registration Center. We have certified British Council agents working for us, so you can definitely ask us questions that you might have about the IELTS exam. And you can send those questions to my email, adrian@aehelp.com. Hi, honey. Hi, Rashika. Nice to see some of our members joining in. Lydia, good to see you as well, our regular students. All right, everyone. So listening part 1 and 2 today. Tomorrow we'll do listening parts 3 and 4. So make sure to join the class tomorrow also for a complete listening section experience. Golden Words, there are free versions of our course as well. Absolutely. So we have paid products. We have free products. So check them out. All right. So we're going to get into our listening today. This is coming up from our 6th exam. And here you have a town council application form. So you might not see that there, but I'll darken up the screen here a little bit so you can kind of see the title of this form. There you can see it. It's just white on gray, so tough to see with this lighting. But yeah, town council application form. That's kind of the title there. It's okay if it's not absolutely visible. Most importantly, it's an application form. Okay. And again, it's coming out of our 6th exam. So if you're looking for it on the website, you'll find it there. Okay, students, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the audio from our academic IELTS website. I'm just going to log into our My Student account here. And when I play the audio, please write your answers separately, okay? So write your answers into a separate document. I'm just going to darken it up a little bit for the practice here. Just let me do this. It'll be easier to read. Okay, more contrast. Don't put your answers in the chat because that might confuse other students, especially if it's the wrong answer. So just put it onto a separate piece of paper or in a separate document, and then we'll go through the answers together at the end. Now, I'm using max volume on my side. I'm using a nice Bose speaker and my microphone headset for this. If it's quiet for you, so if If the audio is not loud enough, I definitely recommend using a headset if you have one, so headphones, something like that, if you have that available. And also, of course, you can turn up the volume on your side. Eugen, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for the wavy smiley face, cowboy, panda smiley, and laughy face emoji. A lot of happiness going around there. Eugen, thank you. All right, so here we go. Let's get into our Ielts audio CDs. This is CD number 6. They're not actually CDs, but that's how we classify them. We like to pay tribute to the old school. And then here, again, just do your best answer. Again, we'll go through the answers at the end together, and I'll talk some strategy as well. Honey, this is exam 6. Exam 6. Okay, everyone, here we go.
This recording is copyrighted by 2 Think On Solutions Inc. and World ESL Tutors. You will hear several different recordings, and you will answer questions on what you hear. There will be time given to read the instructions and questions, and you will be given a chance to check your work. The recordings will be played only once. The test is made up of 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to section 1. Listening section 1. You will hear a conversation between a man and a woman concerning the requirements of running for municipal office. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. You will see that there is an example. This time only, the conversation relating to this question will be played.
Good morning. You've reached the Information Office for Municipal Affairs. This is Florence speaking.
Good morning, Florence. My name is and I'd like some information on the municipal office in the upcoming election.
You're in the right place. The first piece of information I'll need from you is the specific office you'd like to run for.
Town councillor, I'd imagine.
The man says he would like to run for town councillor, so this has been indicated for you. Now we begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Good morning. You've reached the Information Office for Municipal Affairs. This is Florence speaking.
Good morning, Florence. My name is Walter, and I'd like some information on running for municipal office in the upcoming election.
Okay, so you're telling me it's crackling, so just give me a second. Let's see if that helps some of you for the audio to catch up. It might be the YouTube server catching up, so give it a second. Here we go.
You're in the right place. The first piece of information I'll need from you is the specific office you'd like to run for.
Town councillor, I'd imagine.
Great. I need some information from you in order to get you on the ballot this September. Are you ready to get started?
Yes, I'm ready.
This should only take a few minutes. Okay then, let's start with your surname, Walter.
Colchester. Colchester.
And Walter is spelt in the regular fashion?
Yes, Walter.
Okay, next I need your date of birth.
I was born the 11th of December, 1979.
The 11th of December 1979 makes you 36 years old at the time of the September elections. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. I'll need your national insurance number.
My national insurance number is WC 285-698-33.
WC 285 69833.
That's right.
Great. And the last pieces of information I need from you are your current address and phone number.
I live at 23 Shaftesbury Lane, Plymouth, and you can reach me on 01752 667 835.
Wonderful. Next, I'll give you some information on running for municipal office.
You now have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen to the rest of the interview and answer questions 6 to 10.
You should know that you're one of 15 candidates so far that have registered for the 4 town councillor positions. Since the deadline for registration is in a week, I do not anticipate this number increasing by more than a candidate or 2. Second, please know that there are 3 all-candidate debates, of which you must attend 2 in order to qualify for office.
I have to participate in debates.
Yes, that's right. They are on the 14th and 28th of August, and the final one is held on the 4th of September. They'll be held at the local community hall on Ashford Street. Each one begins at 6 o'clock in the evening.
That sounds fine. Is there anything else I need to know?
Yes, there is. Do you plan on spending money on your campaign? This could be on adverts in newspapers, promotional signage, or other advertising.
Well, I was planning on taking an ad out in the local paper, yes.
Not a problem, but please keep in mind that there is a strict £2,000 limit on campaign spending for town councillors. All expenses must be reported to this office. Overspending will result in disqualification.
I don't think that should be a problem.
Oh, and one more thing, Mr. Colchester. There is a £50 registration fee for each candidate for town councillor. You may pay this fee over the phone by credit card, with a cheque in the post, or in person with cash, credit or debit. How would you like to pay?
I live right by the office, so I'll drop by this afternoon to pay in person.
My assistant will take care of that for you. I think that is all I need from my end. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome, and good luck.
That is the end of section 1. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
All right, everyone. So use that half minute to check your answers. And now let me just stop the audio here. We'll go through the answers together, and I'll talk a little bit of strategy. If you heard a little bit of cracking at the end there, that was me accidentally bumping the microphone. It's not the end of the world. You should still have been able to answer most of these questions. Now, since this year, everyone, remember that you don't have an example in part 1, okay? They don't call them sections anymore. They call them parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. And you don't have that example anymore, okay? So there isn't that extra time there yet. Okay, before we start, you probably saw that I was scrolling at the beginning with the instructions, and the reason I did that is because I was looking for the topics of part 2, 3, and 4. So how many people actually read the questions that I showed you there for part 2, part 3, and part 4? That gives you an idea about those topics. So one really nice trick that you can do in the Ielts listening is during the instruction time, and this is a little bit of a trick, and it works very well. So during the instruction time, and you can do this in the computer-based exam. So some of our students said that, hey, you can do this in the computer-based exam too. Now, Jess is saying, oh, it's too easy. Jess, remember, in part 1, it should be easy. You should get 9 or 10. So in part 1, you should get a perfect score. Pay attention to these other strategies as well, Jess, and other students. So during the instruction time, you should take a quick look at the topics of part 2, 3, and 4 by looking at the first couple of questions. And if some of you were doing this while I was scrolling, you should have figured out what the topics are. So what was the topic of part 2? Part 2 topic. Who was paying attention? Okay. So yeah, Lydia, very good. What was the topic of part 2? I quickly scrolled there and I showed you that. Okay, Moria says part 2 was something about downloads. Yeah. Okay. Part 3, according to Moria, was the author of a book. So a book and its author. Sure. And part 4, let's see who got that one. The topic was, Moria says something about transportation. Okay. All right. And Nadia's, who's that? Stuti is asking, what should I do, computer-based or paper pen? Stuti, if you can touch type in English, without looking at your fingers, you should do the computer version. If you cannot touch type, you have to look at your hands, you should do the paper-based. Okay. All right. Close. That was close. Okay. So the first one was actually software. Company meeting. The third one is a book and its author. And the fourth one is roads. Okay. So if I go back during the instruction time, I scrolled down and all I did was I looked for part 2. So here it says section 2 and your test it will say part 2. And then here it says who pays the salaries of the workers. So something about workers here for. And then here we have downloads, sales, conversions, complaint rate. And if you really pay attention, you'll figure out it's some kind of software that they're talking about here. So some kind of software. If you don't, you can go lower and then you can look here and see some more information, okay? Now, I kept scrolling to part 3. And then here, how many books has the guest written? What description does the guest give his book? So it's a book, author, interview. Great. Okay. So I got that. And then section 4 or part 4. Here we go. So here's part 4. It says, right, no more than 2 words for each answer. What phenomenon? The first, roads. So you see roads appears. And then here, though roads were necessary. Which of these roads total approximately? So roads keep appearing. Prem, IDP and British Council, same exam, same thing, okay? British Council often has better equipment than IDP, but it's the same. It's the same exam. One's administered by the Australian testing department, one by the British testing department. They both share the Ielts. It's the same. Okay, notice how I identified the topic. Why do you think I did that? So why would I want to look at the topic of part 2, 3, and 4 before checking part 1 questions? Why would I do that? So what's the logic? What's my strategy here? Okay, so the reason it is a good idea to take a sneak peek at these topics is because, why do you think that is? So Carolina says to be prepared, to be better prepared. for the more challenging listening parts. Okay. Also, your brain does a lot of operations subconsciously. By introducing these topics, your brain will start to do a memory scan of information that it knows of these topics, including, drum roll please, language. Of course. Especially, your brain's smart. Your brain knows it's in a language exam. If you introduce it some topics like roads, your brain, even if you're not thinking about it, will start thinking about transportation, trains, buses, bicycles, concrete, and all of the vocabulary that it knows. Okay, the brain is an incredible calculating machine, and a lot of the functions and operations are not conscious to us, but they help us in our conscious world. Okay, so you want to introduce the topics to your brain so your brain is already on a rolling start once you get to these. It's kind of like the Indianapolis 500, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, where the cars are moving as they start the race, right? So instead of the Formula One where everybody stopped, the Indy 500, the cars are moving and then they start the race and then everybody starts driving faster and faster. So by looking at these topics of part 2, 3, and 4, you get a rolling start rather than a stop start. Okay, rolling start is usually a much better approach than a stop start. All right. So clear on that? Okay, so definitely a good strategy, definitely a good idea to do it. You're very welcome, Prem. Okay, so, and because of what Jess said too, Jess is like, well, part 1 was easy. Exactly. So you want to use your energy there to get a better idea of parts 2, 3, and 4. Okay? All right. You can practice this at home, of course, and you'll see. Okay? All right. Here we go. So now let's get back to these. Redfire, it's lagging because it's ultra low latency, almost real-time streaming from Europe to around the world. There's very little delay, okay? When you're watching YouTube live streams that aren't lagging as much, it's because their latency is much closer. So you're not actually watching them in real time. You have about a 15-second delay. It doesn't work well. Okay. A side note, here we go. So the name of this person, so this is Town Councillor application form. The name of this person is Walter. In part 1, be patient. They usually spell the names for you. So it's Colchester. And Surya says Colchester should be spelled. Surya, you're absolutely correct. Okay. And it's make sure that if it looks small, like this one, or close to that small, you get it wrong. All right, that has to be a really clear, big Colchester. All capital letters like Nick Hill's writing's fantastic too. Okay. Now, did you notice how some of these questions were a little bit wrong? That can happen on a form. So you might get this one before this one, and then they might repeat this one again later. Okay, so careful. Sometimes it's a little bit of a, there's a little bit of a switcheroo happening when it's on the same form. All right, so be careful about that. Okay, so the address for Mr. Colchester is a number and then Shaftesbury Lane. Okay, that number is 23 Shaftesbury Lane. Okay, very good. Okay, let me check the audio for us here. Just a sec. I see some of you are going, oh, there's some audio issues. Okay, just give me a moment. I'll deal with it. Two seconds. Let me fix that audio for you. So tell me if it's still crackling or not. Just a sec. Okay, just a moment. There's a couple of technical points that I can try on my end. A lot of moving parts in these live lessons. Okay, here we go, just a sec. All right, so the audio should be better now. Let me know if it's still crackling. Okay, so the city is Plymouth, which is fine. And the date of birth. What's the date of birth for Mr. Walter Colchester? Okay. I cannot read the Russian name, the Slavic name, but it's 11th December 1979. Okay. 11/12/1979, according to Fennel. Sure, that works. Yep. The clearest way is 11 December 1979. Okay, so that's a really clear way to write it, and that's the shortest way. Lydia, you don't need the TH, so just 11 Det 1979. Perfect. Make sure to learn your abbreviations for the months, okay? All right, so 11 Det 1979. That's all you need. All right, phone number. Phone number. What is his phone number? He said this after he said this insurance number. It's kind of a tricky one. Okay, Stuti says 0175. Spaces don't matter at all. 266 7835. Let's see if everybody else gets that. Of course, 7835. I don't recall this from memory myself, but Catherine agrees. Outmatch agrees. So it looks like most of you have good agreement there with those numbers. That's great. Okay. And what was the national insurance number? That was a little bit different. Okay, national insurance numbers in the UK will often have some letters in them as well. So what was the national insurance number? Fennel says that was WC. Make sure the C looks like a C and not an L. Sometimes when I write my C's quickly, they kind of look like an L, so I have to really pay attention to make sure that's a C. Okay, so it's WC 2856. Again, you don't have to worry about spaces. Just make 33. If you're doing the paper-based exam, your penmanship matters. If the examiner cannot clearly read your writing, then you will get it marked wrong. All right, so careful with that. Okay, fantastic. So far, so good, students. Make sure to pay attention to these points. Let's keep going. All right, let's get down to the second half of these questions. So you have a little bit of a break, and then here we have our complete the table question. So let's complete the table. Write no more than 2 words for each answer. This candidate has to go on some debates, 3 in total. And the second debate, you have to identify the information about this debate. What's the date? Okay, what's the date? Yeah, Rashika, in the US and Canada, UK, you write the order of months and days differently. So that's why it's good to write the abbreviation for the month. Okay, so 28th of August, 6th of September. Careful, first, second, third debate. There were 3 of them. This is the second one. It's 28th of August. Okay, just like that. All right, so Aug 28 or 28 Aug. It's the easiest. I think the third one is the 4th of September, and the first one was the 14th of August. Okay. Yes, Ray, the number 28 is counted as a word. Okay. So when they say write no more than 2 words, it usually will say and or a number, but the 28 is counted as a word. So you shouldn't write of. Okay, just 28 Aug. That's the easiest way. What's the time? What's the time? Aman Verdi says the time is 6 p.m. Very good. 6 p.m. it is. Honey, it's perfect. Okay, Jess, if you write this, That's wrong. Because this, in fact, would be AM. Okay? Then you need to write this. Right? This would be wrong. You have to have the PM or you have to have 18. Okay, Jess, did you catch that? Be really careful. Right? Sorry, is it Jess or Jazz? Jazz. Sorry, Jazz. Luck. It's 18. Okay, this would be marked wrong. All right, it's tricky, I know, but you have to be careful. All right, so let's get to the last few questions. What is the campaign spending limit? Here, the correct answer, Prem Nawal, correct. Okay, it's just 2,000. Okay, you do not need to write pounds. If you write pounds, you can get it wrong because they give you the symbol pounds. They already have the symbol here, so you don't need to include it. You just need the number 2,000. Okay, Shahrab, 18 is the same as 6 p.m., not 6 a.m. Okay, so 18 o'clock is the same as 6 p.m. All right, and then how much is the registration fee? So how much, yeah, Fennel, very good. So Fennel says 50. It's not 15, it's 50, okay? 50 pounds. So again, make sure you can hear the difference between 50 and 15. It's 50 pounds, 50. 50 pounds. The registration fee is 50 pounds. 15, there's a long E sound there, 15, and this is 50. 50. There's a D sound there, 50. So 2,050. Okay, I know you had some challenges here with the audio, but hey, if you're using a bit of logic, you can figure this out without even listening. Hint, hint. Logic is your friend, so good logical thinking. What are the 3 ways of paying the registration fee mentioned in the recording? Direct debit, check by post, credit in person, cash by post, credit over the phone, check over the phone. Before you give me the right answers, give me the 2 wrong answers, okay? So I see a lot of answers coming up. First, I want the 2 wrong answers. Which 2 are impossible? So 2 of these 6 are not possible. Which 2 are not possible? Okay, so which 2 not possible? Okay, 2 of these are not possible. Which one? So Honey says D is not possible and E is not possible. I don't agree with that. Okay, so which 2 are not possible? Ray says D is not possible and F is not possible. Yeah, I mean, you can take pictures of checks these days, but again, that's a little bit different. So cash by post, an official office, at least in the UK or in Canada or Australia, will never ask you to send cash by post. Okay, I don't know about every other country, but in most places, as far as I know, it's a bad idea to put paper money into an envelope and send it by post. So we can take D out. Now, check over the phone. Well, if you're using a smartphone and you take a picture these days, yeah, maybe, but it's really not possible. So F is not possible. So now we have 3, and there's only 4 here. So check by post, that looks good. Credit card in person, yeah, that looks good. And credit over the phone, that looks good. Okay, so those ones look like they could be the answer for sure. All right. So B, C, and E are the options. So you really only had to catch that one. We didn't hear anything like direct debit. Okay, that wasn't there, right? But you got a pretty good chance once you've taken out the 2 wrong ones. Okay, Carolina says, yeah, that's B, C, and E. I got it. Okay, okay, good, cool. All right. So how did you do? From 10. Okay. Surya says, I got 9 out of 10. That's great. So Surya got 9. What did you get from 10? 9 or 10 is what your goal is for part 1, okay? So, Jas, you got what you need if you got all the other ones right. 9 out of 10. Nikhil, good. So if you want to get a high band score, you need 9 plus, okay? 9 or 10 for section 1. UK song, if you got 8, that's pretty good. So 8 is okay. Sundar Singh, 7 is like, you got to be careful because if you get more wrong on parts 2, 3, and 4, then it's going to be tricky, yeah. Khan Nguyen, yeah, the IELTS listening is exactly similar to what I'm teaching you. Yes, it is. We listened to a lot of IELTS exams before we created these exams to make sure that they match in style and difficulty perfectly. Okay. Careful, by the way, so Khan has kind of a good question, like, is the IELTS the same difficulty? Yes, it is. We designed our materials to match with Cambridge IELTS exams perfectly, but be careful, students, not all materials are like that. I don't really want to say some names, but some materials are a little bit easier, for example, like Barron's books tend to be a little bit easier, some of them, practice books. And so students will listen to it and they go, hey, this is easy. I'm going to do a great job. And then they go to the real IELTS and it's like, oh, why was my practice book so much easier? This is way harder. So be really careful. Make sure that when you're learning from materials online, that they match the difficulty, okay? Check the Cambridge. That's my advice to you, okay? So, and it's a good kind of point to sidetrack on just for a second. So, be sure, okay? So if you want to know the difficulty of the IELTS exams, hey, listen to past IELTS papers and you'll know, okay? So Cambridge, just so you don't, you're not thinking, oh, Adrian's just trying to sell their own exams. Hey, listen to the Cambridge exam. So Cambridge past papers, books 10 to 14 especially, are past IELTS exams. So by listening and doing these, you get a sense of the real, because they are actually real past exams, real exams difficulty. Yeah, it's very dangerous if you're just checking for free materials online and then you find some, you think, hey, this is great, and then you realize that, oh, that wasn't like the exam at all. That was really a problem, okay? Depending on your base English, Sudikshya Bhattarai, so depending on what you have for English, you can do a really good job in 2 months as long as you study in a structured way. Okay, absolutely. And of course, yeah, I definitely recommend using our exams, okay? All right, cool, everyone. So far, so good. Let's do part 3 of this listening together. Again, I will do my best to make sure the audio is good. Turn up the volume on your end. I will try not to hit my mic against the speaker. And also make sure to keep your answers out of the chat. Just so that you give everybody a chance to answer, okay? All right, so let's get to part 2. You'll notice that part 2 becomes quite a bit more challenging than part 1, okay? So here we go.
Battery 80%. Take some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Listening section 2. You will hear a recording of 3 people discussing strategy for an upcoming meeting with investors. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully to the interview and answer questions 11 to 16.
Thank you both for this preparatory meeting. As you know, we have an extremely important meeting with our investors next week. While I'm more than confident in the work we have done over the past year, we must be prepared to justify our progress to our investors. After all, they are the ones who pay our salaries. First, I want to review the positive outcomes we've achieved over the past year. This will make up the bulk of our presentation. Amy, would you like to give us a rundown on this front?
Sure. We've achieved many positive outcomes over the past year, and furthermore, we've achieved more in the past 4 months than in the previous 8 months. So we're certainly showing significant progress. First, and most important, sales of our app are up 50% from last year, totaling 586,000 units in the past 12 months, up from 390,000 units in the previous year. This is great progress. Second, we're achieving a higher purchase rate. While our sales are up 50%, the number of total downloads has remained relatively constant. This means our conversion rate has increased 50% as well. This clearly demonstrates that our efforts in this area have been fruitful. By targeting the conversion rate instead of the raw download rate, we have raised our standing and search result priority within the application stores. This will eventually lead to a higher download rate and even more sales. The upward trajectory here is very clear. We have also decreased the complaint rate from 2.5% to 1.5%. While our goal is to get this rate as close to zero as possible, this decrease represents a positive outcome and shows that our efforts to increase customer satisfaction have been successful.
Yes, but if I may interrupt, I actually have to disagree on one point. I don't believe it should be a goal to get the complaints rate down to zero. While we certainly don't want a high complaint rate, the resources spent on getting the complaint rate down are better spent on increasing downloads and increasing the conversion rate. I think this is an important point to be made to the investors. While we certainly value the quality of our product, we are much more focused on maximising the value of the investor's investment. I think such a tack will go over well with the investors.
You now have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen to the rest of the interview and answer questions 17 to 20.
That's a great point. We really want to emphasize that we are doing everything we can to optimize and maximize the money and resources we've been supplied with. Speaking of which, are we all agreed that we will be asking for 20% increase in operating budget?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. And how are you going to justify such an increase?
Well, certainly by pointing to the statistical outcomes you previously referenced, but also by our need to expand. We need to increase our catalogue of apps, and to do this, we will need to hire at least 2 additional developers. In addition to this, I think we are now at the point in our business where hiring a market analyst would be justified. Such a person could be charged with finding niches to exploit within the market. Right now, our operations in this regard are rudimentary at best, and an expert in the field could help increase our sales volume significantly. Such an expert's salary might take up 5% of our operating budget, but could lead to a 10% increase in sales or more. The 5% difference would result in a net income increase of almost £100,000.
I agree. Hiring a market analyst is long overdue. One more justification for a budget increase is an across-the-board pay rise, if only at the rate of inflation. 2%, say. This would go a long way to increasing worker morale and output quality. In addition to this,
That is the end of section 2. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
And always use that time to check your answers. We're going to go through the answers together now. And again, now you see why it's important to look ahead so your brain's thinking about software meeting, people, employees. Okay, and again, logic will help you lots here. So let's go through these nice and smooth. Here we go. Who pays the salaries of the workers in the recording? They talk about these people several times, and with companies like this, it's often these people who pay the salaries. Sundar says it's the investors. Fennel agrees, it is. It's a common noun, so just investors, you don't need to capitalize. If you capitalize, it's okay. All right? Okay, so, and then you had this form completion here. Okay, so write no more than 2 words and or a number for each one. They're comparing the current year and the change from the previous or the last year. It's really important to pay attention to these. So the sales, the total, it's up 50%. So what were the total sales this year? Honey says it was 586,000. Yep. Okay, very good. So 586,000. Instead of 3 zeros, I like to write K. I think it's just easier. Okay, so 586K. It's 1,000. Okay. If you're, quick with your zeros, sure. But I think this is fine. All right, so does Ielts. Downloads, they don't give how many downloads. The download rate is constant, so lots of downloads. Okay, conversion, purchase rate. It's not given for this year, but it is up by something from last year. This one was a fairly easy answer. It's up by how many? Honey, 50, just the number. You don't need percentage because you have 50% right there. So all you need is the number. Students, when you have the symbol, don't repeat the word or the symbol. Okay, so just 50. Good job, Fennel, Carolina, Moria, Nikhil, Surya. Very nice, Kartik. Okay, Maxime, well done. Okay, so the complaint rate this year is 1.5. And the change from previous year, it's down by. This was a little bit tricky. You had to do a little bit of math. It's not 2.5. Ray, very good. Ray says it's down by 1%. Because they said that last year it was 2.5%. This year it's 1.5%. So you had to do a little bit of quick thinking and realize the difference is 1% down or down 1%. Everybody get that? So last year 2.5, this year 1.5. It's down by 1%. Tricky one. Okay, I see a lot of people got it. Pachu, Carolina, remembered that now. Okay, so careful. Make sure you pay attention. So this type of question should remind you to pay attention to keywords like change from previous year. Okay, now you can always check that in your 10 minutes transfer time. So even if then you're reviewing your answers and you go, oh, wait a second, change from previous year isn't 2.5%, it's just 1%. So it's a thinking exam. It's not just go fish. You're not just matching blue fish, red fish, red fish. Okay, it's a thinking exam. All right. Okay, question 15 to 16, multiple choice. I don't have time right now to go into a lot of multiple choice strategy, so I'm just going to ask you for the answers. What point do the two investors disagree on? You can find multiple choice strategy in your full courses on ahelp.glshelp.com. What points do the two investors disagree on? A, B, or C? To increase the conversion rate, to convince investors to increase funding, or getting the complaint rate as low as possible? Honey says C. Yeah, very good. Who else said it? Nadia. Very nice. Yeah, C. Okay, so getting the complaint rate as low as possible. So one of the members in the group says, I don't think that's so important. What is the most important? So what is mainly important, primary importance? according to the employees. Okay, what should be the most important? Maximizing the value of investors' investment, increasing the funding of their company to hire new people, or convincing the company to increase downloads and raise conversion rates? Honey says A. Yeah, if you run a company, you want to make sure that the value of investors is maximum because that helps your company grow and become bigger. And that makes logical sense, and it's what the members or the employees say as well. So A for sure. Okay. So this one was A. Okay, so it's C and A. Okay. All right. Very good. And I see a lot of students got that. Okay, the last one was completing a summary with some words. Here we go. No more than 2 words. Always pay attention to the instructions. The employees are requesting a 20% something in funding. Fairly simple, okay? 20% what? One word here. Increase. Just increase. Okay? So don't overthink it. Increase. You don't even need the word budget. Budget would actually make this grammatically wrong. So careful. This will allow the company to hire 2 additional something who will allow the company to broaden their catalog of apps. Okay. Who do they want to hire? They want to hire 2 something, and then they actually want to hire one more something. Yeah, Fennel says developers. Honey agrees. Very good. Yeah. Developers. S because it's 2, so plural. Will allow the company to broaden their catalog of apps. They would also like to hire what? So aside from the 2 developers, they think that having something else is really a good idea. It's not a marketing analyst, honey. Yeah, it's a market analyst. That's right. It's a market. Okay? A market analyst and a marketing analyst are different. Okay? A market analyst analyzes the market. So what is needed by the market, how big the market is. That's what a market analyst is looking at. A marketing analyst is looking at the marketing strategy used by a company to effectively sell their product. So marketing analyst and a market analyst are 2 different jobs. Careful with that, okay? No need to say sorry, honey. Just learn from it, okay? So market analyst, who is in charge of finding new areas for development. Finally, the team wants a pay raise pegged to the rate of... They want their pay raise to be equal to, not 2%. That's right, Fennel, the rate of inflation. Very good. 2% is just an example that they give, but it's inflation. So if the inflation is 3%, then 3%. If it's 4%, it's 4%. If it's 1%, so they say like 2%, but that's just one example. So the correct answer here is pegged to the rate of inflation. Okay, so the valuation or devaluation of money, inflation. Okay, so notice how part 2, definitely a lot more challenging than part 1. So Jazz, this is what I was talking about. And Jazz, I'm not picking on you. Many students are not aware of this, so it's an important point. So that's why, Jazz, I actually thank you for bringing up this point that, oh, part 1 seems so easy. Yes, but then it gets much more challenging for part 2 and then even a bit more for 3 and 4. So students, be ready. Don't be shocked. Don't be like, easy peasy part 1. And then, whoa, what's going on? Suddenly it's a meeting and there's people talking and what? They're discussing it. Software. So get ready for a big jump between part 1 and part 2 in the level of difficulty. Okay, part 1's just to make you feel comfortable and get you going. All right, count up your marks for 20. Okay, ideally at this point, okay, So 16 is the absolute lowest because in part 3, part 4, there will be more challenging questions. You're likely losing more marks. So at this point, you're already down to a band 8 if you've lost 4 marks, almost a band 8, okay? Even if you get 16 here and you get perfect for part 3 and 4, you're roughly at a band close to a band 8. You're still kind of in this 8.5, but you're close to a band 8 at 35, okay? So careful, careful. All right, everyone, good job so far. Remember, you can get all of our exams. We're going to upload 4 more exams in the next couple months, and we have 6 exams already there for you with lots of video, interactive content, video for all parts of the exam. We have speaking, editing support as well. We're one of the leaders in the world for IELTS exam preparation online. From all over the world and succeed in their studies and in their university and immigration goals, visa goals. AEhelp.com for academic IELTS, GIELTShelp.com for general IELTS. These are our apps. We separate the two. Obviously, it makes sense. Again, one of the only companies that does that. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Tomorrow I'll be back with listening part 3 and part 4 of this exam. So if you want to get the complete picture, make sure to come back at this time. You're very welcome, Rashika, honey. Thank you, members, for being in the class and for your support. Moria, our regular students. Lydia, thank you for being with us. Everyone else, also much appreciated. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. I'm Adrian, signing out from Budapest. Bye for now.